Hey everybody, Derek here to be another video for The Walking Dead countdown to the start of Season 6. And we are exactly 75 days away from the upcoming season premiere. I'm getting really excited. And today what I wanted to talk about was a topic that really interested me as I was rewatching the Comic-Con presentation that all the cast of Walking Dead and Scott Gimple were at. And one of the things that Scott Gimple mentioned was that Season 6 was going to be full of flashbacks, as well as an entire episode may be lended to just a flashback. And I wanted to explore that a little bit to see what kind of flashbacks there might be and what kind of flashbacks I would like to see. There are some things that I really would like for them to go back and do a brief thing with, and I think that it would be really cool if they would do that. So I'm going to tell you about all my different predictions here. Just in case you guys are not caught up with Walking Dead at all, this video will contain spoilers. So if you are not caught up, don't watch the video because otherwise you will be spoiled. Okay, so first off, I want to talk about flashbacks that I think will for sure happen in Season 6. And there's only one that I've really been able to come up with definitively, and that's Enid. Seeing Enid outside of the walls with her parents, and seeing exactly how she survived, how she came to Alexandria, and the kind of person that she was up until that time. I think that that's been definitively established, not just by reports on the scene, but from the trailer. You see various images of Enid. Basically she's dirtier. She has dirt all over her face, her body. She's wearing tattered clothing. Things that really make it clear that she was out there for some time. She looks a lot like what Rick's group did. So it's pretty clear that we are going to see some flashbacks exactly of what happened to Enid leading up to the point where she came to the Alexandria community. Now, getting to the point that Scott Gimple brought up, that one of the episodes may just be entirely a flashback, I thought about it, and I think that there are two possibilities of what they would do for a flashback episode. One of those ideas is Morgan. Obviously, we've all been wondering, what has Morgan been up to? Since Rick left him in clear. I think there are a lot of questions, because even though we saw him in several different scenes in Season 5, they really didn't give us any indication of what he had done before that. Plus, where did he learn all these awesome ninja stick skills? That's not something you just pick up. You have to go through some kind of training. And it also makes you wonder exactly what did Morgan do in order to overcome his problems. And I think that a flashback episode for him is something that the audience would appreciate if it's done correctly. All these have to be done right. We've seen where flashbacks work very well, like the ones with Herschel at the end of Season 4, the episode A. And we've seen where they did not work very well. For example, the train car, No Sanctuary, flashing back to the hunters in Terminus before Rick's group got there. Like, what the world was that good for? Nothing. It really didn't lend itself to any good story, in my opinion. So that was a waste. But for Morgan, I think we have more questions that I think could really be answered in an entire flashback episode, and I think that it's one that we would enjoy seeing. I want to know exactly, where was Morgan? Was he in the town? Did he finally decide to leave the town? Did something happen to the town? Did he come across somebody? Did he pick up a book? I'm assuming he met somebody, because otherwise you really wouldn't have a flashback. So my assumption is he met somebody, and this person kind of counseled him, and it made him become who he was. And I think the other thing that would be interesting to see with Morgan is maybe a flashback to the moment where Dwayne does get killed. I don't know exactly if they could show that, though, because of the age difference between the actor who played Dwayne now. But Sometimes, if you really want to set up a story, it may help to see at least some scene from that. Maybe to see the moment that he actually probably snapped, and it was probably that moment. So I think that Morgan would definitely be a good candidate for a flashback episode by himself. But there's one other possibility, and that is an Alexandria flashback episode. One of the things that I read in an interview, and I think it was either Robert Kirkman or Scott Gimple that talked about this, but that they were going to go back and do a part of the comics that really wasn't explored, and it will be explored in the TV show a little bit. That could be a bunch of different things, but one of the things that I was thinking about was the storyline with Davidson. If you're not familiar with who Davidson is, Davidson was one of the co-founders of the Alexandria community within the comics Douglas Monroe. And the two were basically leading the community, but that Davidson ended up becoming a little dark. He was abusing his power. He, I believe, forced himself, unfortunately, on several of the women in Alexandria. He was just doing various things, and eventually Douglas had him banished. And I think that that is a story that, again, if done right, I think I would like to see. I think it would serve multiple purposes. One being that now we're going into season 6. Now we're going into Alexandria, basically having to change as a community. And maybe from Deanna's perspective and other people's perspectives, this may be a Davidson situation all over again. And maybe seeing exactly what happened, could relate to what's going on now. That way we might be able to see exactly how the community came to be the way it is now, what Davidson did, why people are worried, and also it would be interesting to see how Alexandria itself was established. Rather than throw in some, filler episode that has really nothing going on in it, I mean, I think that we would maybe prefer to look more at the present day for Walking Dead. But if you had to do an episode like this, I think it would be very interesting to do the flashback to Davidson, as well as the start of the community. I think that it would be a very, very interesting story. I was very intrigued by it in the comics when I read the comics. And I really think that going through and looking at it would be something that several of us would perhaps be interested in. And again, all you have to do is craft a good story and it can be a good episode. I think that it would be great to look back and see exactly what some of these people are thinking about, as this is happening and as they're seeing it right before their eyes, Rick and his group coming in. Why does it remind them of Davidson maybe? Or maybe it mirrors some of the things, or it may be something that, helps people get, past things. But I think it would be nice to see that. So if they had to do a flashback, I think that's a very good candidate as well. And then there are two other flashback ideas that I thought would be very interesting to see. These are more just brief ones, but I think that they would lend themselves really well to the characters. One being a flashback to Gabriel at the moment that he locked his church members out of the church. I think that that scene would be something that is very powerful to see. And depending on what you're going to do with Gabriel, I mean, first off, a lot of us really don't like him. He's really become something of a very disliked character, somebody that we think of as a coward, as, a terrible person. And, this may help reinforce that a little bit. But the other thing is it also might, if they do plan on redeeming Gabriel in some way, which, I mean, hey, let's not throw everything out here. They did temporarily redeem the governor for one episode. I wouldn't put it past them to try to redeem Gabriel. I don't know what they're going to do, but it could be used as a point, that he can look back at. Because I'm sure, as we can see, it bothers him. It's something that he has not gotten over. It's something that he probably never will get over. But maybe that could be something that he uses as an inspiration to never do that again. Because in the comics, he's presented with a similar situation when the Walkers invade Alexandria, and he steps up to the occasion and actually lets people inside his church, or I think it was a church that they had there, but he let people inside, and then he later went out and killed some of the walkers that were outside. He actually participated in this, so I think that they could potentially use that as a parallel. If they want to try to redeem Gabriel. Will they show this scene again? I'm not 100% sure. They may not. But I think that it would be something that would be very interesting to look back at. And then finally, another flashback that I would like to see is one with Sasha and Tyrese. Going back to Coda, when right before we dealt with the whole Beth and Grady Memorial situation, we could tell that Sasha was still struggling from Bob's death. And Tyrese offered to help Sasha. That's what brothers and sisters and siblings, do for each other sometimes. They're there for them. And Tyrese definitely had a very nice bond with his sister Sasha. And, he told her in Cross and Coda, about how he would be there for her when she needed him. And that when she was ready to talk, they would talk. And I really do wonder if they did, because the amount of time between Coda and what happened and what's going on was 17 days, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that, it's very possible that they did speak. And I think that it would be nice to go back to those times, with Tyrese in between those 17 days and actually explore, what they may have talked about. I think that it could be used as motivation to get Sasha, going again. She's really been in a slump lately, suffering from a lot of PTSD, depression, a lot of different things that she's upset about right now because of losing Bob and Tyrese. And I think that if anything could help her, it would be delving within herself and bringing out those good feelings or those good memories that she had with Tyrese. And if Tyrese said something to her in this time, maybe it's something that she can relate to what's going on now and help her get out of this slump. And I think that it would be great. It would give us a nice opportunity to see Chad L. Coleman back on the screen. Who didn't love Herschel coming back for A? Anytime you can work a character from the past in and it works, I say do it. I think that Tyrese was an amazing character, and to bring him back, even for just a couple of scenes in like 1 or 2 episodes, would be great. And it's something that I would be for, and I think it would make sense if you're trying to bring Sasha, back a little bit. So I'm very interested to see if any of these flashbacks will take place, what will take place, and how it's going to fit in with Season 6 as a whole. But I'm going to bring this video to a close, and I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. And if there are any suggestions that you guys have for future videos, don't be afraid to suggest them. I'm really getting excited. Fear the Walking Dead is coming up next month, and I'm definitely going to have a lot of videos and topics from that show. And, of course, if you're a fan of Z Nation, that's coming in September. So there's a lot to hold us over until Walking Dead, but I'm still anxious as ever for the show to come back. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and thank you very much for watching.